Okay, so today let's dive into something pretty mind-bending, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Like in science fiction, there's always these instant communication devices like
Right.
the Ansible and Ender's game.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to explore a scientific paper
Okay.
that claims to have a design for like a real-world Ansible.
I know what you're thinking.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, right next you're going to tell me they've built a perpetual motion machine?
Yeah, exactly.
Especially for our technically savvy audience.
Yeah.
This is going to sound like a tall tale.
Hmm.
But trust me, the paper dives deep into the specifics.
Yeah.
And it's worth unpacking to see just how far-fetched this claim really is.
Exactly. We're not just going to take the author's word for it. We're going to dissect the physics,
Right.
the proposed technology, and yes, the potential roadblocks.
Okay.
The paper we're diving into is called Practical Design of an Ansible, Quantum Collapse Signaling via Weak Measurement Biases
Wow.
by Shiva Bucci.
Okay.
And it gets pretty intense, so
Well,
buckle up.
the paper starts with a bold claim. It argues that orthodox quantum mechanics, the
Yeah.
very foundation of modern physics,
Yeah.
might actually allow for faster-than-light communication.
Now, that's a controversial statement to say the least.
For sure.
But how does the author even get there?
By highlighting what seems to be a contradiction
Okay.
at the heart of quantum mechanics itself.
Mm-hmm.
It all centers around entangled particles.
Okay.
Those particles that are linked in a way that even Einstein called
Right.
spooky action at a distance.
So even if they're light years apart, doing something to one particle
Yeah.
instantly affects the other. But the prevailing wisdom is that you can't use this to actually send information faster than light.
Exactly. And the paper dives headfirst into that apparent paradox.
Okay.
It focuses on three key claims within orthodox quantum mechanics.
Right.
First, weak measurements can create statistical biases
Okay.
in the quantum states of entangled particles.
So kind of nudging them in a certain direction without fully determining their final state.
Precisely second, a strong measurement on one entangled particle
Go.
instantly affects its partner no matter the distance.
Mm-hmm.
And third, this instant action can't be used to transmit information.
So there's the rub, right?
Yeah.
How can you have instant action without information transfer?
That's the question the author tackles.
Okay.
He argues that these three claims taken together create a testable paradox.
Mm-hmm.
And the proposed experiment is designed to either demonstrate faster-than-light communication
Okay.
or force us to reevaluate some fundamental assumptions about quantum mechanics.
High stakes.
Yeah.
So how does this proposed Ansible actually work? I imagine it gets pretty complex.
It does, but the author builds on a familiar concept.
Okay.
The BB84 protocol,
Okay.
a well-established method for quantum key distribution.
Ah, quantum cryptography.
Yes.
It uses the strangeness of quantum mechanics to ensure secure communication.
Exactly. BB84 relies on the fact that measuring a quantum system changes its state. Any eavesdropper trying to intercept a message would inevitably leave a trace because the act of measurement itself alters the system.
So is this Ansible design using that same idea of measurement-induced collapse?
It is, but with a crucial twist.
Oh.
Instead of using the collapse for security,
Okay.
the Ansible design leverages it as the communication method itself.
Hold on. So instead of checking if someone messed with the message,
Right.
they're using the messing itself to send the message.
You got it.
And that's where things get really interesting.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Walk me through this Ansible design. How does it actually use quantum collapse to transmit information?
Imagine Alice and Bob.
Right.
Our classic quantum communicators are trying to send a message.
Okay.
First, Alice creates a bunch of entangled photon pairs.
Mm-hmm.
She then uses weak measurements on each set of pairs designated for one bit of information
Oh.
to introduce a specific statistical bias in their states.
So she's setting up a kind of baseline pattern in these entangled pairs without fully collapsing their states. Precisely, this bias state represents a 0 in their communication code.
Okay.
Now, these entangled pairs are distributed,
Okay.
one photon from each pair to Alice and the other to Bob.
Right.
They have synchronized schedules, so they know exactly when to expect signals.
Got it. So they're synced up. What happens next?
Here's where the communication magic happens.
Okay.
Alice encodes her message by choosing whether or not to perform a strong measurement on her photons at specific times.
Okay.
Performing a strong measurement sends a 1,
Right.
while refraining from measurement sends a 0. letting the pre-established bias persist.
Wait, so the information is encoded in the timing of the strong measurement?
Yes.
Like Morse code, but with quantum measurement?
That's a brilliant analogy.
Oh, wow.
It's not about the specific state of the particles, but about when Alice chooses to disrupt them.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Bob is continuously monitoring his photons,
Right.
looking for any changes in that statistical bias.
Mm-hmm.
A sudden shift at a predetermined time would indicate a 1, while no change would mean a 0.
Okay, I think I'm starting to see how this could work.
Right.
But it all hinges on that weak measurement bias and how it supposedly changes instantly across the entangled pairs.
Yeah.
Can you break down how that bias actually works at a quantum level?
Absolutely. This is where we get into some of the finer points of quantum mechanics.
Okay.
Weak measurements are a way to gently probe a quantum system
Okay.
without completely collapsing its wave function, its set of possible states.
So not a full-blown measurement, but enough to glean some information
Yeah.
without disrupting the system too much.
Exactly. And the fascinating thing is that these weak measurements can actually influence the system
Okay.
without destroying its quantum properties.
Interesting.
They introduce a measurable statistical bias that persists even across entangled pairs.
Okay.
And importantly, orthodox quantum mechanics acknowledges these biases as real, verifiable properties.
There's not some fringe theory. It's built on established principles.
Right.
But how do you actually detect this bias? It sounds incredibly subtle.
That's one of the key challenges the paper addresses.
Okay.
It all comes down to the quantum bias detection rate, or QBDR.
QBER.
You need to reliably distinguish between the biased and unbiased states, even amidst the inevitable noise and decoherence that occur in real-world quantum systems.
Right, because quantum states are notoriously fragile and susceptible to environmental interference.
Precisely, and maintaining that bias over time and distance is another major hurdle.
Okay.
You need to ensure it's stable and strong enough to be detectable on Bob's end.
Yeah.
To address this, the paper proposes using multiple entangled pairs for each bit of information.
Okay.
This amplifies the signal and improves the statistical reliability, making it easier to discern the bias from background noise.
So it's like sending multiple copies of the signal to ensure it gets through the quantum noise.
Exactly. And the paper emphasizes that current technology for weak measurement and state detection is already capable of meeting these requirements.
Okay, so it's not purely theoretical, but it still sounds incredibly complex. What kind of technologies would you need to actually build this Ansible?
You would need a suite of cutting-edge quantum technologies, but the good news is that each component is based on existing proven technology.
Okay, good.
First, you'd need a high-precision weak measurement system with very fine-grained control and stability. This would involve lasers, specialized optics,
Right.
and the ability to manipulate individual photons with incredible accuracy.
So we're talking about the kind of equipment you'd find in a high-end quantum optics lab, not exactly off-the-shelf components.
True, but the technology is readily available.
Okay.
Then you would need equally sophisticated quantum state detection systems on Bob's end.
Oh.
These would allow him to rapidly and accurately measure the bias in his photons.
Okay.
So think super-sensitive detectors capable of picking up the faintest of signals.
And of course, you can't forget about the entanglement itself.
Right.
You'd need a reliable way to create and distribute those entangled photon pairs, potentially across vast distances.
Absolutely. Entanglement distribution is a whole field of research in itself.
Right.
With ongoing advancement,
Yeah.
you might use fiber optic cables for shorter distances.
Okay.
Or perhaps satellites for longer range transmission and to protect that fragile entanglement from decoherence.
Right.
You'd need advanced environmental isolation techniques, like magnetic shielding, temperature control, and vibration isolation.
It's starting to sound like building this Ansible would be as much a feat of engineering as it is of physics.
Precisely. And one final crucial piece,
Okay.
precise timing synchronization.
Okay.
For Alice and Bob's measurements to align correctly, they would need to be perfectly in sync down to the nanosecond.
Wow.
This would require atomic clocks of exceptional accuracy.
Wow. So we're talking about a convergence of some of the most advanced technologies in the world, all working in perfect harmony.
Yeah.
If this experiment actually worked, it would be groundbreaking, to say the least.
It would be nothing short of revolutionary.
Yeah.
And the implications go far beyond just building an Ansible. Right.
As the paper points out, this experiment would either demonstrate faster-than-light communication, which would completely upend our understanding of physics,
Yeah.
or it would force us to reevaluate some of the most fundamental assumptions about quantum mechanics.
Okay, so even a negative result would have major implications.
Exactly.
It would mean there's something deeper about quantum mechanics that we haven't fully grasped.
It could mean that weak measurement bias isn't quite what we think it is, or that the effects of quantum measurement aren't truly instantaneous.
Okay.
Or perhaps there's something even more profound at play that we haven't even considered.
This is getting really mind-bending. It's incredible to think that we might be on the verge of a paradigm shift in physics.
Yeah.
And all because of this proposed Ansible experiment. But let's be real here. What are the chances that this thing could actually work? I mean, faster than light communication, it sounds like something straight out of science fiction.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But that's what makes this paper so compelling.
Yeah. It takes a seemingly impossible concept and breaks it down into its fundamental components, showing how each piece could potentially be realized using existing technology and well-established principles of quantum mechanics.
Okay.
Now, does that guarantee that it will work? Of course not. There are still enormous challenges, both theoretical and practical.
Right, like how do you maintain entanglement over vast distances?
Yeah.
And what about the potential for errors in the weak measurements or signal detection?
Exactly. And the paper doesn't shy away from these challenges.
Okay.
It acknowledges that the engineering hurdles are immense.
Yeah.
And that unforeseen obstacles will undoubtedly arise.
Right.
But it also argues that these challenges are not insurmountable.
So it's not just a pipe dream. There's real scientific rigor behind this proposal.
Exactly.
But even if we could overcome all the technical challenges, wouldn't faster-than-light communication violate some fundamental laws of physics?
That's the big question, isn't it? And the paper doesn't claim to have all the answers. In fact, it explicitly states that if this experiment does work, it would either confirm the existence of faster-than-light communication, which would require a radical rethinking of our understanding of causality in the fabric of space-time, or it would suggest that there's something profound about quantum mechanics that we still don't fully understand.
Okay.
Maybe there's a mechanism that allows for these seemingly instantaneous correlations without actually violating the principles of relativity.
Interesting.
Maybe there's a deeper level of reality where our concepts of space and time break down.
So even if it doesn't lead to faster-than-light communication, this experiment could still open up entirely new avenues of research and potentially revolutionize our understanding of the universe.
Exactly, and that's what makes it so exciting.
Yeah.
This isn't just about building a fancy new gadget.
Right.
It's about pushing the boundaries of human knowledge and exploring the deepest mysteries of the cosmos.
Well, you've certainly given me a lot to think about. This whole deep dive has been a wild ride, taking us from science fiction to the cutting edge of quantum physics.
It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
Yeah, and to our listener, if you're as intrigued by this as we are, we highly encourage you to dive into the paper yourself.
Right.
We'll make sure to include a link in the show notes.
Yeah.
You know, it's fascinating to think that something that started as a fictional concept in Ender's Game could actually inspire real scientific inquiry.
It just goes to show.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, the power of imagination and the interconnectedness of science and storytelling.
Absolutely. Science fiction often serves as a testing ground for ideas exploring possibilities that may seem outlandish at first, but can spark genuine scientific curiosity and lead to real breakthroughs.
And this paper is a perfect example of that. It takes a concept that seems impossible, faster than light communication, and grounds it in the rigorous framework of theoretical and experimental physics. Whether it ultimately succeeds or not, it's pushing the boundaries of our understanding and opening up new avenues for exploration.
And that's what science is all about, isn't it?
Exactly.
The relentless pursuit of knowledge, the willingness to challenge assumptions, and the courage to explore the unknown, even if it leads to unexpected or even unsettling conclusions.
Exactly. This Ansible design, even if it doesn't result in a working device, could still have profound implications for our understanding of quantum mechanics, information theory, and the very nature of reality itself.
It could force us to reconsider our assumptions about causality, locality, and the relationship between the observer and the observed.
Wow.
These are deep philosophical questions that have puzzled physicists and philosophers for centuries, and this experiment could provide valuable insights into these fundamental mysteries.
It's incredible to think that a single experiment could potentially overturn centuries of scientific thought. and lead to a paradigm shift in our understanding of the universe.
And it underscores the importance of scientific inquiry that's not afraid to ask bold questions and challenge conventional wisdom. Even if this particular experiment doesn't yield the results we expect, the journey itself will be invaluable, leading to new discoveries and expanding the frontiers of human knowledge.
So, to our listener, if this deep dive has sparked your curiosity, we encourage you to delve deeper into this fascinating topic. Explore the paper.
Yes.
Consider the implications, and don't be afraid to ask your own questions.
And who knows, maybe one day, thanks to the bold ideas and tireless efforts of scientists around the world, we'll be sending messages across the galaxy just like in Ender's Game.
Until then, keep exploring the boundaries of the possible.